now my students, let's proceed discussing on the alcoholic fermentation, and this is how the process it is going or it is taking place under absence of oxygen. And here we have seen that under absence of oxygen, this pyruvic acid it will act with the two molecules of NADH, then to produce that the purpose is to produce the ethanol. So how does ethanol is involved in the production of ATP? We are saying that this biological process converts two pyruvates into two acetaldehyde, producing two carbon dioxide molecules as a waste product. You can see that hii ni biological process ambapo sasa kwenye hii biological process ina aim to convert ile pyruvate into acetaldehyde ambayo inakuwa na two carbon dioxide molecule waste as a product. So you can see two molecule of this carbon dioxide, they are lost from the reaction. And also the two acetaldehyde are then converted to ethanol molecule by using hydrogen ion from the NADH, converting the NADH into the NAD positive. This one, NAD positive. So you can see ile two molecule baada ya be converted kuja kupata hii acetaldehyde. So this acetaldehyde, it will be converted again so that it will form the molecule which is ethanol. So while we are forming the ethanol, we are using the NADH, two molecules of NADH. That is, we are using the hydrogen ions. And remember, we have said that the hydrogen ion is just that molecule which is used to form the ATP in the living body. So it will tend to convert this NADH back to its initial compound, which is the NAD positive. And ethanol fermentation has many uses. That is, this include producing alcohol beverages, ethanol fuel, as well as releasing reagent in baking bread. So ile ethanol ambayo imetengenezwa kutokana na ile process ambayo inaitwa alcoholic fermentation tuliyoiona, sasa ile ethanol inakuwa a lot of uses in our daily activity. So now you can see by production of this ethanol fermentation, or that by production of ethanol, now we can produce a lot of different things. For instance, we can produce alcoholic beverages. I hope you know different kind. We have a lot of alcoholic beverages. So zile vinywaji vyote ambavyo tunasema asili yake ni pombe vinatengenezwa na hii molecule ambayo inaitwa ethanol, imetokea kwenye ile process ya alcoholic fermentation. And also, apart from these alcoholic beverages, this ethanol which is produced as the end product, it is used to produce the ethanol fuel, so as well as the reagent in the baking sodas. Remember, we have seen that this ethanol or production of ethanol, it is mostly occurring in the yeast, and also it is occurring within a plant body. So within the plant cell. So due to that, it has a ability for production of different kinds of alcoholic beverages. Apart from that, we have seen that ethanol fuel, but also baking bread. That is baking bread. So inaweza ikatumika kwenda kutengenezea nini, mikate. So that is the use now of this ethanol fermentation, which is the first type or the first category of anaerobic respiration. And now let's see this one. It's just the same figure which shows that the alcoholic fermentation. You can see we have two molecules of the acid, pyruvic acid. Now we are using two molecules of the NADH so that we can form two molecules of initial compound, which is NAD positive, which there is the presence of a proton. And also there is production of the ethanol, and we have seen that the ethanol, it has different kind of uses in our daily environment. So make sure that you know those uses of that ethanol. So now let's looking on the second type of the anaerobic respiration, and this is the lactic acid fermentation. So what is it now? And this lactic acid fermentation, in which part or in which place that this process it is undergoing? So now let's see. That is, refers to the lactative fermentation, which is the biological process by which pyruvate is converted into the metabolite lactate. So hii process tunasema ni biological process. Why is it biological process? Kwa sababu ina aim to convert that pyruvate to form the metabolite lactate. So you can ask yourself, what is that lactate, and what is the function of that lactate, and how is it used in the production of different kinds of energy in the living body? We can say that in lactic acid fermentation, the pyruvic acid from the glycolysis is reduced to lactic acid by the NADH, which is oxidized to NAD positive. So hii lactic acid fermentation tunatumia ile pyruvic acid ambayo tumeitoa kule kwenye glycolysis, tumesema under absence of oxygen. So we are using our pyruvic acid, we tend to reduce it so that we can form the lactic acid, so that we can form the lactic acid. So while we are forming the lactic acid, we are using the NADH, this one, NADH. So we are using the NADH so that to oxidize it to form the NAD positive, that is, it has a proton here. And this lactic acid fermentation allows glycolysis to continue by ensuring that the NADH is returned to its oxidized state. So hii ni oxidized state, ndio maana tunasema kwamba hii lactic acid fermentation inaweza kusababisha ile process ya glycolysis ikalitata again au inaweza ikaendelea tena by using that NADH. So tuliconvert tukaja tukaipata hii oxidized state of that NADH, which is NAD yenye proton. So also this anaerobic fermentation reaction occur in some bacteria and animal cells such as muscle cells. We're going to see this in the figure 6.12. That is hii anaerobic fermentation ambayo ni lactic acid fermentation, tumesema kwamba inatokea mostly within the bacteria and also within the animal cells, specifically in the muscles. So it's whereby this lactic acid fermentation, it is occurring in such areas. So now let's see this figure, which is the figure 1.2. So this is what is happening. You can see that this is our figure 6.12, shows the lactic acid fermentation pathway until we manufacture the lactic acid. So now you can see that pyruvate, we have our pyruvate au pyruvic acid ambayo imetoka kule kwenye ile glycolysis process. So under the presence of this enzyme ambayo anaitwa lactate dehydrogenase. So huyu lactate dehydrogenase ndiye ambaye sasa ata convert this pyruvate in order to form this lactic acid. So while the enzyme which is lactic dehydrogenase is used, also we are using the presence of the NADH so that we can form the NAD proton. So we utilize this hydrogen, so meaning that there is production of energy over there. So now umeona hapo tumeweza kupata hiyo lactic acid. So that is how the lactic acid, it is formed from the lactic acid fermentation. My student, here the thing that you have to know and to understand, that you have to understand on how you can explain this lactic acid fermentation, and also you should show where does this you should indicate where does this lactic acid fermentation it is found. Here I have said that this lactic acid fermentation, mostly it is occurring within the animal tissue, specifically within the muscles. And apart from that, this lactic acid fermentation mostly it is occurring in some bacteria. Why in the bacteria? Because in the bacteria they just respire anaerobical. There is no need of the oxygen. That's why this process it normally it can take place in such area. So now tunaweza tukaconclude kwamba hii lactic hii fermentation process imeundwa na types mbili, ambayo ya kwanza tulisoma earlier on the first session ambayo inaitwa alcoholic fermentation, and this one into the second type ambayo inaitwa sasa lactic acid fermentation. So my student, by saying all of this, and this marks the end of our today's session, and thank you for your time and for following us Educare TZ. Bye bye, have a nice moment.